Welcome once again to Hunters Entertainment on Twitch.tv. My name is Noxweiler Burf. I am your game master and your guide through a dark and challenging world of survival horror. Tonight, as we do every Tuesday evening, we are playing Outbreak Undead. This game is not for the faint of heart, and I, as your game master, have confirmed consent with each and every one of my players. Our lines and veils have been very firmly drawn, and we have safety protocol in place to assist and protect everyone at the table tonight. Of course, we ask you for your consent as well, and we encourage you to read the content warnings very closely. This game offers us all wonderful opportunities to explore dark themes and to shine a light on the human condition in the safe confines of our imagination. That takes bravery and the support of everyone, including you. You see, this game is brutal. It's unforgiving. It is, after all, survival horror. Not every character that has been created and will be portrayed tonight is operating with the same objectives. They have different motivations. Some are working directly against the other players and are in communication with dangerous outside forces. You see, in this world, in this apocalypse, there is no such thing as a magic sword. It can't be discovered here. There are no valiant knights. There are no castle walls to hide behind. The dangers in this world are far worse than dragons and magic. It is a world that wears the face of a familiar civilization that withered and died long ago. It is the echo and dying gasp of our world, a reminder of what might be should we forget our humanity. Still, in the greatest of darknesses, we hope to show that the human spirit burns bright. I would like to thank both JB Jara and Alex Hillman and the entire Hunters team for helping us to make this campaign possible. Without their steadfast devotion and hard work behind the scenes, we would not be sharing these tales with you. Also, we encourage you to sign up for our Scry program in the panels below. With it, you can engage directly in the communities of the apocalypse. You can take on the role of a survivor yourself and help to divert resources and goods to where you think that they are most needed. Your choices tonight will mean the difference between life and death, and they are linked directly to the settlements within the Rag and Bone universe. Every small community, every non-player character that is introduced can be affected by the choices that you make. Whether a small burgeoning town withers and dies away in its infancy, or whether it survives and grows stronger, becoming a formidable stronghold, that will all determine on how you distribute the goods, services, and resources that we are making available to you. Everything has a cost in this world, and the choices that you, along with the players, are going to make are going to determine exactly who survives and who does not. Our tireless Undead moderators are in the chat tonight, and they're prepared to help you by answering any questions that you might have. They want to support your efforts, so please don't hesitate. If you hesitate, it may be too late. Also, if you are enjoying this content, we ask that you continue to make noise for us on social media. Better yet, find your way to our YouTube page and leave us a like and comment. It helps the algorithm, and as much as I hate to say it, our apocalypse has just begun, and we want to share it with everyone that we can. You can help us to grow and bring more survivors into the fold. Additionally, we ask that you join in on our Discord and connect with others that you feel might enjoy this particular brand of Dark Ride. Enough of all of that, however. Allow me to introduce you to our players in tonight's little nightmare. Michelle, would you like to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about everything that you do across the internet, and talk just a little bit about the character you'll be playing tonight?
Sure. Hi, I'm Michelle Bradley. Back again. You can find me on the internet at I am Chippy Bunny on all social media, and you can also find me on Wednesdays over on twitch.tv/officialpaizo. I play in their official Starfinder game over there. We've got 4 more episodes of the season before we maybe die in space. It's been real fun. I'll also be participating in Jasper's Game Day on Monday at 3:30 p.m. I don't know what channel it's on yet. I can't find the information, but anyway, it'll be on my Twitter. Find it there. And we're raising money for a great cause. And I'm also over on the Total Nerd YouTube channel. I've got a video coming out tomorrow, all about some good nostalgic games. And today I am playing Faith. Faith is a grown-ass woman now, but back in the day, Ashira took a bunch of kids away from the Citadel to try to save them. Did not work out super well, so we have an awkward relationship now because I think that Ashira tried to kill all of us when we were children. But yeah, I basically work with the Citadel now. They're my family, and I'm being forced to go on a mission with all of these fun folk.
We're very happy to have you. Faith has been a very interesting addition. We look forward to seeing how your relationship with everyone else within this group evolves. Markia, would you like to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you're doing across the internet, and introduce the character that you'll be playing tonight?
Yes, I'm Markia McCarty. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Markia McCarty, Darth Markia on Twitch, Markia TV on Facebook, or just look around for Markia with a K and it's probably me. And so, yes, things that I'm doing. We have our absolute final episode. There was a finale and then there were 2 episodes that happened as an epilogue. So the last epilogue that is happening on Monday, this Monday, 8 a.m. PT, is Kids on Bikes with Roll20. My character there is a very sweet and yet slightly murderous 11-and-a-half-year-old. It's well worth a watch. It's feelings and then also escapism. So if you want to check that out, we have been greenlit for, well, I'm not going to say that. And also this past week, if you want to check out the VODs, we completed our dual campaign that we were doing in collaboration with Level Up Dice. I was jamming 2 different casts. It was 2 sides of one story, like 2 different sides of a revolution taking place in the 24th century. It was Altered Carbon, Birmingham Uprising, which isn't a supplement that you can get just yet, but you will be able to get it soon from the genius mind of Kat Evans. So it's like you want to look out for that. And of course, for my own personal projects, I am the narrator, host, and story editor for Something Scary. You want to check that out on YouTube. It's animated horror episodes. There is a new one every week on Tuesday. We did have one drop today. And go to youtube.com/snarled, or you can check us out on podcasts, and that you just look for Something Scary, and that's wherever your podcasts are found. As for my person, Achira, she has had a lot of her past come to, like you reap what you sow. That's basically what has happened for her. She is a backstabby rogue type, but that is because whenever she has reached out to people, it has not gone well for her. And, hopefully that won't be the same pattern that happens here, but we really don't know. She's in a party with I guess one of her best friends who has his own kind of past. She also has Rowan and Faith, who there's history there. There's so much. I'm really, really curious how this is going to go.
When we first started this campaign 30 sessions ago, I had asked all of the players to make characters with complicated backstories, with mistakes, flawed people. In fact, I believe the way that I termed it was very dark pasts, and to be able to take those characters and help to find some redemption, perhaps, in the exploration of the stories that we would undertake. You all did an exceptional job. Sadly, some of the characters weren't able to truly explore their past before they expired. However, Achira's past has certainly returned in full force, and I'm very excited to see what happens next. Melee, would you like to introduce yourself, talk about what you're doing across the internet, and perhaps tell us a little bit about the character that you'll be playing tonight?
Sure. Hi there. I am Melee Damage. You can find me on the internet on all the socials / Melee Damage. And I have a song that is out everywhere that you can find music, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music. Go download it. It's called Mothership. I have a bunch of other things that I can't quite talk about yet, but if you follow me on my Discord or Patreon, you get kind of sneak peeks at some of the stuff that I've been doing. But do follow me on socials, and soon I will be able to talk openly about a lot of things. I will be playing Rowan, who is a lieutenant over at the Citadel, and she is very interested at this moment to see how this adventure is going to go, considering half of this group she's been at odds with, and some of them tried to blow her up. She's tried to blow them up. It's been a rough go of things.
It has been a long string of murderous interactions. However, you do have allies now. Traveling alongside you are a number of the Citadel Guard. Faith, who is in many ways a surrogate daughter or niece perhaps, but she is also traveling alongside you. You are not alone for the first time. However, neither Lampwick nor Achira align with the vision of the Citadel, so we will have to explore more about how that resolves itself. Last but certainly not least, Luis, would you like to talk about yourself, talk a little about what you're doing across the world of entertainment, and also the character that you'll be playing tonight?
Yes. Hey, everybody. Everybody. That's everyone and everybody combined. I'm Luis Carrazzo. You know that. You can find me on social media just by putting those two, my first and last name together. You'll find me. I'm an actor. I'm here every Tuesday. This is one of my favorite things I get to do. And sometimes I'm on TV. If you guys want to go back and see what I've done last season, I was on an episode of SWAT, NCIS, and I've got a short film that I'm really happy with called Of Hearts and Castles. I will bring that up every week. I'll try to, because I would love for people to be able to see it when it's in a festival that folks can access. Enough of that. Lampwick. Oh, yes. I think one of the reasons why I love being here every week is because of what Nox has just been saying about the characters that we've been exploring. Because I, too, am curious to see where this combination of people that we're all together right now, Citadel people and Rag and Bone people, and Lampwick right now is sort of gotten in allegiance with the Shepherds, which have been described as kind of cult-like and ruthless, which they are. And but Lampwick is a survivor, and he knows what he's good at, and he is good at talking. Where his moral compass is sometimes even a mystery to me. But I know that he is capable of establishing meaningful attachments. But for the most part, especially pre-apocalypse, he's seen most people as just a means to an end. But that may or may not be changing.
Yes, ruthless times sometimes call for ruthless measures. Choices have to be made, and you are correct. Lampwick is, and always has been, a survivor. Even before the fall, we have seen much about what Lampwick is willing to do to make it through. Regardless, I'm very glad that all of you are with me, and I'm very thankful that we have been able to go along on this journey together. 90 hours of exploring this sort of content is not an easy task, and all of you have created something very special. You have my endless thanks. But we're not done yet. In many ways, I feel like we're just beginning, so I look forward to the resolution of our tale. Each of you in the audience has the opportunity to aid our survivors. Typically, we ask you for each week to hit a number of thresholds, 15 subscriptions or 100 follows to this Twitch channel. Unfortunately, we did not hit our goal this week, which means that the players will not be receiving an additional competency point. That's okay, though. They have other ways that they can survive. I'm sure they'll be just fine. Additionally, on Drive-Thru RPG, you can find offerings that will help to expand the world of Rag and Bone to you. If you're interested, I have personally written a number of supplements detailing this world, some of the enemies that they faced, detailed character sheets for each of the players, and more. It's absolutely free and our gift to you. Again, it's on Drive-Thru RPG, so if you'd like to know more, ask our moderators in the chat and they'll lead you there. I've said enough, perhaps too much. The road is very long and it's growing dark. We should get moving. The world ended on Monday, May 29th, 1995. The sky fell, and the dead would not die. Civilization quickly collapsed, and the sickness spread like lightning to even the most remote reaches of the world. They called it many things, but it started out simply as another round of the summer flu. It became something far, far worse. H195, commonly called the Legacy or the Reaper's Kiss, was as deadly and horrible as it seemed to be when it first appeared. It became even more infectious once an individual passed away. The dead carried this virus even further than the living, because the dead did not rest in peace. They rose from their passing and attacked those that were nearby. Vicious, rage-filled, unstoppable. At first, it seemed as if no one was immune to the airborne strain, but eventually it appeared that 0.01% of the population had a natural immunity. However, even those lucky souls couldn't withstand an introduction of the virus through a bite, or a deep scratch, or blood-on-blood contact. The end of days were like wildfire, and throughout the world, people sought security and sanctuary where there was none to be had. Danger was everywhere, and it was more than just the dead that brought threat. The living turned in on themselves, and with civilization gone, it was difficult to know who to trust, if anyone could be trusted. Entire cities burned to the ground. Everything seemed lost, but miraculously, some few people did survive. And for the next 25 years, life has struggled forward. The world now is a fractured place, but it is not without hope. Some seek to make civilization anew. Small settlements and civilizations have cropped up in the wilderness, oftentimes in the ruin of the world that existed before it. Now, rag and bone merchants carry goods and services to those who need them most. The Ender's Line is one such group, and it uses old railway tracks, rusted remnants of a world now lost, to connect the small and scattered outposts and settlements that are scattered across the Midwestern United States and beyond. These rag and bone are a lifeline in a world that now belongs entirely to the dead. I need to ask all of you, as you are now a few days removed from the Citadel. Last session, we discussed very directly how you would prepare yourself, what supplies you would gather. There have been other resources that have been given to you by that stronghold. You have prepared as best you can. Each of you have ties to different factions, but the Citadel, as a show of unity, has given you access to their armory, their storehouses. And so you have a small amount of food, water, ammunition, and weaponry. We've already discussed the details of what you've taken with you. Now I'd like to discuss the details of how you've moved forward. Having left those secure gates and entering back into the wilderness that the world has become. Tell me a little bit about how you're traveling. You have with you a vehicle. It was bought by no small amount of survival points. It is an ATV, an all-terrain vehicle that has been heavily modified. No one could truly tell you what the original make or model of the creation is now. We're so far removed from industrial manufacturing that everything is ragtag, welded together, duct tape and a prayer. This ATV is driven by one of the members of the Citadel known as Inez. She's very good with it, and she's called it the Bone Rattler. It has painted on the side a skull wrapped in a rattlesnake. There are plenty of places for you to travel. You can remain on the outskirts of the ATV itself, outside of the canopy, or you can travel on the interior. While the interior offers more protection, it also leaves you more vulnerable should you become pinned or trapped within the vehicle itself, should it flip over. It has very large wheels. It's raised up off the ground. It's loud, but they have done their best to muffle it as best as possible so that it doesn't draw too much attention. Still, it has been commandeered. Rowan, as the lieutenant of the Citadel, you have with you a number of troops that have been placed under your care, including Faith and Omar, the two soldiers that you have personally helped to train, helped to raise. They were once under the care of Achira when Achira was much, much younger. However, Achira made choices, and we find ourselves here now, perhaps with some regrets, but also with many misunderstandings. Lampwick is traveling along with all of you, and though it is hard to say where his alliances truly lie now, he has made connections with a very dangerous and frightening group known as the Shepherds to all of you. The Shepherds have strange abilities around them. There are rumors. Kusanagi is also traveling alongside you. He is perhaps the most adept electrical engineer left in the living world, certainly within the nearest few hundreds of miles. This individual has been able to help maintain the Citadel, and specifically has joined all of you on this mission, hoping to unravel the mysteries that are surrounding the base, the stronghold, once owned by the individual known as Blockbuster. It is a warehouse filled with archived material from the world of the past. And while that is very valuable to many, it's not the most valuable item that is said to be held within that stronghold. A series of mysterious tapes have surfaced. Tapes that hold the image of a desperate doctor who speaks of viral cures and help, ways to end this nightmare. If what has been said is true, the clue to locating the location of this individual may very well have been discovered by Blockbuster. And now that Blockbuster is dead, your only hope is to find his stronghold and to unearth the secrets that he took to the grave with him. So as I started this, I will end it. Tell me a little about how you're traveling.
Is it possible that when Achira got her bag back, and also with that got back the bird book that Arya had given her along with the Pretty in Pink VHS, is it possible that she could recover some morale points with that?
It would be possible if you had the bag. You do not have the bag. The bag is still held by the Shepherds.
Oh, that's right. They have it. Okay.
Lampwick has informed you of its location. But when you do recover it, Achira, you may regain morale points. Tell me a little about how you're traveling.
I would say this whole time, Faith's been like sticking, with Rowan and Omar and just trying real hard to distract Omar from not talking to Achira. Like every time he looks over, I'm like, look, a bird, a bug, a leaf. And it's been really challenging. I feel like this the last couple of, you said it's been a couple of days.
Yes, it's been 3 days.
3 days. The last couple of days, every time we stop for like a break, you could tell he's just like pacing around trying to confront Achira. And I'm like, now's not a really good time. Maybe we hold off on this till later. I will say that I still have the pen light he gave me earlier, or the what's it called? Yeah, the little light to signal him, and I just
It's
keep
a
reminding
laser
him.
pointer, yeah.
Laser pointer.
Mm-hmm.
Listen if anything goes wrong. Point away. And I think just I'm trying to keep the peace, and I'm actually starting to feel a little bit bad for Chira, that like my brother really wants to just like scream at her every chance that he gets. So it's sort of a weird situation where I know I should be more mad at Achira, but I'm the longer this goes on, the more I'm like, man, this seems like a really old grudge to have, and I don't really understand it very well.
Yes, your brother does seem to be unreasonable. He has he doesn't like to be in the same room or the same space as Achira, and often will you can see him working it out, and you know your brother well enough to know that Omar is looking for an opportunity to confront Achira, but has yet to do so. You've found him in camp the past couple of nights, crying. And he has been doing so very secretly. As to whether or not you've confronted him or acknowledged the fact that you see him breaking down, that's up to you. But I will say that he often travels on the outside of the ATV. I'm assuming, Achira, are you on the outside or the inside?
I would be the opposite of whatever Omar was.
Okay, so you're often on the inside, he's on the outside, and you're probably out there with him, Faith. So the two of you have been probably traveling on the rumble cage that's on the top of this ATV, which is good because you're both fairly good shots. So you've got your assault rifles and your weapons kind of at the ready should you run into any trouble as the group kind of travels through this terrain, making your way back towards Pittsburgh. You're not headed to Pittsburgh, but you're headed to the remains of the pit, kind of the Iron City, which is where no one goes because the city itself is a death trap. However, on the outskirts, in many of the abandoned suburban areas, there are small communities and individuals that have found the means to survive. And although no one has really talked about specifically what it is that you're headed towards or how you're headed towards it, the general consensus is that Blockbuster came from this direction, and you're headed in a general direction to get closer to where the specific stronghold might be located. And the thought and the conversation around the camp has been that it's in the suburbs around Iron City. Lampwick, what about you? You have a companion of sorts who is traveling with you, one of the Silent Sentinels, a very bizarre companion who wears a complete white mask, is wrapped from head to toe in black fabric and wraps, and wears military tactical gear and a hood, carrying with them some very deadly custom weapons. They're very good with a sword, and they're also fairly good with a gun. But they only operate with a hand pistol. However, when at first you were traveling with two of these individuals, identical in every way, you are now only traveling with one, as the matched pair has traveled away with the carriage that originally brought you into the Citadel. And in that carriage, you sent someone else back to the Shepherds.
Oh, yes. And I will definitely not be forgetting that anytime soon. I have, in the last couple of days, I have made sure to be close enough to Achira to know, so that Achira knows that I'm here. The two that I've been paying the most attention to are Achira and my masked companion. Because in a similar way, I want both of them to know that they're not here alone. Last time before we left, there was a lot. I think Lampwick was trying to crunch a lot of stuff with Achira with any little moment that we had available, and none of it, it just wasn't going to happen. So now that we have a lot more time together, I'm kind of like slowing it down and just watching Achira and being available. Little things, like even just being nearby, not necessarily having like big talk. And checking in with Rowan when appropriate. I think Lampwick does the rounds, but is particularly making sure that I'm spending time with Achira, and maybe strange to other people, I don't know, definitely spending time with my companion, my masked companion.
Well, your masked companion isn't much entertainment, isn't very talkative, and doesn't give you really any more information about themselves or anything about what their purpose is here. They remain very fixed, statuesque. They listen intently, you can tell. They acknowledge your presence, but they do not respond in any way, shape, or form. As to the others, we will explore a little bit about how those interactions play out. Rowan, you have been saddled with the responsibility of undertaking this mission as a commander of the Citadel. The resources that have been given are not unimportant to the Citadel. They are valuable, and the people and the weaponry and the hardware that has been extended, including Kusanagi, who they see as part of their community, it's a great risk. However, for whatever purpose, Command seems to have taken a very sharp interest in exactly what's happening here. And from what you garnered from all of the other members of the Citadel, you know that this holds some unseen importance to them. You're not sure what that is, but they would never have put so many chips on the table were it not vitally important. So what have you been doing, Rowan? How have you been traveling? Is there anything about your interactions with the others that you would like to express?
She's been trying to keep an eye on everything and keep everyone kind of organized and where they need to be. I believe she's probably been traveling on the outside of the ATV. Also, when we're moving, keeping an eye out to see if there's any Romeros that are going to attack us, if there's any kind of trees down in the road or any kind of traps, and just trying to keep everything moving smoothly so she does not get yelled at again.
You fear that it might be worse than being yelled at if you return unsuccessful on this mission, Rowan. The Citadel is not a forgiving place. It is harsh when it needs to be. But that's because the Citadel is the strongest survival community that any have seen within this region. They own the ability to navigate these dangerous lands, to travel through large areas, and to gather together those in need. Sometimes they force their will upon those that they encounter, but that's for the greater good of all. Farmers who don't seem to understand that their contributions need to extend beyond their immediate family. The Citadel's very good at making these arrangements that few can argue are profitable. As to whether or not they are moral, that is another conversation. However, you have cast the die many, many years ago. You've made your choices, and you are now with this group. And it all began with what Juniper did that caused you your first great failure in the eyes of Command. You wear that scar now across your face. There's little that you can do to hide it, but it has built you to a legendary proportion amongst the people and the soldiers of the Citadel. While Command may be unhappy, you also have begun to think that perhaps Command is a little worried about the amount of sway that you've created for yourself. You're active. You're with the people. You are a soldier, you just don't command them from a distance. You do the job of the lieutenants better than really any others. Perhaps Riggs, but Riggs is a loose cannon. You've always been more controlled than that. And so, as you've been traveling these past few days, you've been keeping a sharp eye to the horizon. You've been thinking about everything that's occurred and about how you might be able to turn this into a win for everyone. The thing that's given you pause are the trophies that have been left along the road. Old, rotting telephone poles. And upon each of them, a body has been strapped. Now a Romero, futilely fighting against their bonds, like a flag, hung high for all to see. Their fresh bodies. Some of them you recognize as rag and bone traders, members of the Ender's line that you've run across in previous years. These individuals traveled this area, and they would help to create all of the networks that were necessary to get food, water, medical services, and other items into the hands that needed them most. Rowan, you have little love for some of them. They're oftentimes problematic. Ruffians and rabble-rousers that don't fall into line and don't take orders very well. Your traveling companions are a testament to that. However, this is vindictive. It is a very clear signal that someone wants the Ender's line destroyed. For 3 days, you've been traveling. Tell me, Rowan, how do you react to all of this?
I call over Faith and Almar. I go, what do you make of this?
Seems like a warning of some kind, or a trail or a defense maybe to attract Romeros to the path.
I think it's definitely a warning.
I knew that guy. Snake, I think his name was. He was part of the Ender's line. He used to carry things from the east farming communities. Brought them back quite a few times.
Well, I guess someone doesn't like the Ender's line. I mean, we kind of don't either, right? So, does it matter to us?
I mean,
suppose not, right?
Yeah, it just seems awfully cruel. Like there's I don't know, maybe they had reasons, but just keep your eyes out and make sure we're not going to get ambushed by anybody that's going to stick us on a stake.
Achira, how have you been traveling? You've been inside of the ATV as we discussed, right?
Yes. Chira has been studying the shepherd and how it moves, any weaknesses, and particularly how it interacts with Lampwick. And along with that, she's been making sure that she's somewhat familiar with the landscape, or if she has to traverse it on her, go across it on her own.
You've been keeping one eye to the exit, as Achira always does. You are weighing your options, and you're also studying this strange guardian that is always a few steps away from Lampwick. As to weaknesses, it's hard to tell. You've not seen them sleep. You've not seen them eat. They never move very far away from Lampwick. They seem to be tireless. They can stand still for hours at a time. And while you have your suspicions, and Kusanagi has certainly helped you stoke those suspicions, there's been little proof. You've also noticed the bodies that have been hung alongside the road. Currently, the ATV is stopped, and you're about 3 hours away from sundown. And the air is cool. It's getting colder and colder. All of you know that eventually winter will be here. The autumn has been mild, but it's starting to change very quickly. You've been sleeping in and around the ATV. There are a few tents and other items that have been carried along with you. However, Rowan, Faith, and Omar are standing outside staring up at one of these grisly trophies that is hanging from a flat or a telephone pole. Lampwick is standing outside alongside the sentinel that stands behind him. You're watching from a distance, Achira. What do all of you do? What are your intentions here?
I think I'm gonna find like just to make a safe kind of space for Omar and I to like camp up for the night. So sort of like behind the ATV, just sort of make a little, get a tarp and make a tiny little lean-to. And then after that, maybe scout the area.
All right. If you'd like to spend a competency point, I will have you forego the roll for this scouting.
I will roll for scouting.
I will also remind you that per the rules, I will refresh your competency to your starting competency for every period of time that passes that is 20, meaning a 24-hour period.
Right.
If you receive rest within that period. If you do not rest, if you're awake the entire time, I will not refresh your competency. So if we are going to undertake the role play of a series of days, I will not hold it against you if you wish to use some of your competency now.
Nah, I'm gonna roll it.
All right. So
just in case.
Yeah, understandable. I wouldn't trust me either.
Spot listen?
Yeah, I'd say go ahead and make a spot listen check, and you can use any sort of gear that you have with you. Yes. So if you have any specific gear, remember you're using Citadel armament, so that's going to give you a ×3 bonus to your roll.
I have recon gear, which I will use.
It's fairly well made considering the circumstances. All right.
One success.
Despite all of those benefits, you have 1 degree of success, which is enough. Do you wish to do anything to change this, or do you just want to ride on a single success?
I'll keep it just 1 for now.
All right. So you do keep an eye on the area, and what you discover, Faith, is that about 200-300 feet out into the woods, off to the side of this fairly disused road. It is an old highway that has been mostly cleared by the Citadel, and it's one of the main thoroughfares that they use. However, the pavement has been so utterly destroyed and shattered and broken that it might as well be a field. There are plants that are overgrown in the area, trees that have broken through the concrete itself, and rock and rubble, rusted out vehicles, tires, dead bodies, and more that are stretched out like carnage in front of this road. So even with the benefit of using Citadel pathways, it's not uncommon for the group to have to stop and clear areas so that you can continue to travel through. Certainly, there might be more efficient ways. The Citadel does own a number of motorcycles, and there are small scouting groups that are part of the Citadel that utilize those bikes to be able to make it through these areas much more quickly than this. However, the security and the defensibility of this ATV has served itself already. And you've started to scout out away from this area. There are heavy growths of tree on both sides. This is wild Pennsylvania, and it is very hilly and mountainous off to one side, and then to the other side, it's dipping down low into a sort of a valley. As you travel about 200 feet out into one of these wooded areas, you start moving towards the dipping valley, and using a pair of refitted binoculars with a cracked lens on one side, you see in the distance in this valley a large number of the dead idling. Romeros, hundreds of them, just sort of meandering in these woods without any direct target. You do spot sight of a deer that's being ripped apart by them.
I don't know if I can do another action, but I'd like to set a perimeter alarm using some of the garbage from the grounds on a string so that if they come our way, it would make a sound to alert us.
Very well. You start to do that. I will say that you know instinctively, given your training, that if the group is in any way disruptive, if there are gunshots, anything that could be heard from a distance, you are going to potentially find yourself in a very difficult situation, given the number of the dead that you see close by. All right.
Okay.
So let's go to Achira. Achira, what are you doing while the group has sort of stopped for the moment to kind of assess their situation?
Shira wants to study the dead bodies that are hung on the rotting telephone poles. In particular, she wants to see if they're all hung in the same way or if they've been killed in the same way, like slashed throat, or maybe they're missing their arms or their teeth or something. She wants to get a closer look with that commonality.
Yeah, it's they are Romeros. You can see them moving. It's hard to see their face, and they're fairly high up.
I have recon gear.
So are you going to climb up one of these telephone poles?
I could climb up a tree next to it.
I'll allow that. You are going to have to travel a little ways away from the group to be able to find a tree that's very close to a telephone pole. The one that Rowan and the others were looking at was very much on the side of the highway and was cleared all the way around it. But only, we'll say, maybe 300 feet back beyond where the ATV is currently standing, there is another telephone pole that has a tree next to it that you can navigate.
I would do that.
All right. Would you like to spend a competency point to forego the climbing?
I am not used to doing that, so I'm going to roll for it.
Very well. Once again, I wouldn't trust me either. Go ahead and make a climbing check for me. You do have the recon gear, so you're going to have a 3 times modifier using the Citadel gear that's been given to you. So you have 2 degrees of failure. Is there anything that you want to do to mitigate those failures?
Well, maybe with it, Achira sees that the tree that is close to the telephone pole isn't as sturdy, or it doesn't go as high that she would like for it to. So I think she'll have to just do her check from the ground and do the best that she can with that.
With 2 degrees of failure, I'm going to say that you've wasted an hour of time, that you actually started to climb the tree and you broke off a branch and immediately thought better of it, realizing what you've just described, that you're not going to get quite where you want to be and that you're going to try to do this check from the ground. So you climb back down, but it's wasted an entire hour of your time.
Okay.
I'll come back to you then. Lampwick, tell me a little bit about what's happening for you in this moment.
Well, I'm actually going to take a moment. If we're stopping and there's a moment to acknowledge these individuals that have been put on these telephone poles, I know I've seen them before, and I'm looking at the Citadel because a part of me wondered if this was their doing when I saw it earlier on my way to the Citadel. I'll approach Rowan, wherever Rowan is. If Rowan was looking at one, then I'll just walk up right next to Rowan.
Yeah, she's standing
So
there.
this isn't you guys, is it?
No. I feel like our work has a little more crest to it. There's some artistry involved. This is just... Whew!
It's pretty effective, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Apparently
Hey, look, you know more about the people that roam around here. We know Rag and Bone folks. I've encountered a long time ago another group of pretty cutthroat people. What do you know about any motorcycle riders, kind of like a biker gang?
Would I know anything about that, Knox?
You know many biker gangs. They are useful. There are a number of groups throughout the area. It's a pretty vague question. Granted, there aren't very many people left alive, but there are those who seek to travel outside of any single community and operate in a mobile sense. The Caravan being the largest of those groups. But while the Caravan is full of bikers, they use other vehicles as well.
The biggest one I could think of would be the Caravan, but it's a pretty general, vague question.
Well, there's one in particular that I'm curious about that, if I'm remembering right, had wings on their jackets. But regardless, whether you know or you don't, or whether you do know and aren't being free to share that information, which is fine, I think it's important to recognize that, hey, look, I thought this might have been your work, which means that other groups around here may be blaming the Citadel for this, which could also mean that whoever is doing this is exactly pinning it on you. Just giving you an outside eye.
That seems to be a reoccurring theme going on. People pinning things on us. The wings. Think that's the Saints of yesterday. Very, very useful. Very deadly.
Very. Also, I've had a little run-in with them a long time ago, and yeah, deadly indeed. They would absolutely be the group that would manipulate others to turn against the Citadel. That's all I want to bring to your attention.
Lampwick, I like you, and usually You're full of a lot of shit, but on this particular instance, everything that is coming out of your mouth seems like an absolute fact.
Well, I get a little bit of a bad rap. I don't know where I got that reputation because I don't know if I bullshit nearly as much as people seem to think I do.
All right. Well,
What was the name of that biker gang again?
Saints of Yesterday.
Saints of Yesterday.
They're we should look for signs around here. If there's anything. Do you recognize if they had any kind of like specific graffiti or anything like that when you ran into them? Besides the wings on the jackets, but hopefully we don't get that close to them before we know where they're at.
Maybe we should look out for I don't know, a fire or something. Hey, there was a fire at the Citadel though too. I know that we have established that it was those stragglers from Grey Ridge, but again, this group, Saints of Yesterday, huh? Yeah, I think we need to look out for them. And with that, I'll walk away from Rowan and kind of stand next to my sentinel and observe him.
All right. So you move over to this sentinel who's standing maybe 30 feet away, just sort of watching. You're not sure if they're watching Rowan or watching you. And they're standing there at attention, their hand rested against their pistol, the other hand rested against the hilt of their sword, staring forward. They don't move. You come closer, and you can see that they reposition themselves to allow you to pass by.
I pause for a moment, and I speak softly to my companion. The greatest sinners around are the saints of yesterday. The greatest sinners are the saints of yesterday. The greatest sinners are the saints of yesterday. And I walk away.
The figure stands there. Achira has been gone for a while now, but you can see her moving off about 300 feet south of your current position. Faith, you come back, having set your makeshift traps. Omar was taking the other side of the road and meets you. What did you find, sis?
Just a whole valley full of Romeros waiting to eat us. So they're over there, and we best tell everyone to be quiet as much as they can. I set a small alarm over there, so if we hear some rattling going on, then we know they're coming, but we should be as quiet as possible.
That's pretty smart. Should we gather the others and let the lieutenant know that we might want to move on?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea too. I don't know if we should stay here, but if we leave, we gotta be real quiet. And the car's kind of loud, so. But yeah, let's let them know.
I think Inez was hoping that we could camp here tonight, but maybe this isn't the best place.
Yeah, I mean, I don't give a shit about half the people here, but I certainly do not want to get eaten by a bunch of Romeros. So Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. This isn't worth it. Your brother kind of walks behind you. He's taller than you are. He's bigger than you are. He's muscular. He's really spent his entire life trying to please all of the commanders of the Citadel. He's good at what he does, but he's also so much younger than you in a lot of ways. You are physically the youngest of any of these makeshift siblings that have raised themselves together at the Citadel, but Omar is a little naive, definitely angry, certainly hurt. It's a weakness that's going to probably get him killed.
Nah. Hey, Inez, got a problem over here.
What the fuck is it now? I'm
All
trying
right.
to fix this thing.
Okay, yeah.
I don't have all day.
We're all busy. Listen,
I
there's a
know.
whole valley of Romero's right over that corner there, so I don't really think we should be staying around here, especially not with all these bodies up here as bait.
She has a wrench in one hand and a oily rag, and she turns to you and looks over to the hill. Yeah, that makes sense. We're fucked everywhere we turn. And she kind of like goes back. Where's the boss at?
Rowan, I don't know, I think she was hanging out with those weirdos.
Oh,
Can I
great.
see her from where we are standing?
Yeah, you turn around and you see Lampwick walking away from Rowan as Rowan's standing near this telephone pole still. She's been there the whole time, you think.
Hey, Rowan, excuse me.
Yeah. What'd you find?
Valley full of Romero's, probably gotta go, but we gotta be real quiet about it. There's a ton of them.
All right. Stage just keeps getting worse. Did you do anything to secure a perimeter or anything like that?
Yes, ma'am. I put a sound line down there, so we'll hear if they start coming up. I'll be rattled, but there's so many of them that if we start to hear them, it might be too late, honestly.
Oh, that's not good at all. Okay. Do we have a clear exit strategy of like if they do head this way, which way we should probably run to safety?
Omar, was your side of the road clear?
Yeah, I didn't see anything. It got really hilly, so it led up into the mountains. I don't think that anything's going to come down at us from there.
Can the car make it up there?
Oh, I think that's an Inez question for sure. I don't know if the ATV can handle that. It's pretty rough.
Okay. So we physically run up into the hills into a tree? I don't know. But maybe we can find a different way with the car. Maybe if Inez has a map, we can figure out a route.
You've got 2 other soldiers with you. They are currently on patrol up and back on the road. So they're doing the same sort of scouting that you're doing on opposite sides so that you're more or less hitting the cardinal directions. Inside of the Bone Rattler, you see Kusanagi working with the radios. He seems to be rewiring them and has a number of tools spread out, and he and Inez are arguing back and forth a little bit. But he's currently working to try to extend the range of the radio that is within the ATV so that you can maintain contact with the Citadel, but that you might also be able to contact those on the outskirts of the Ender's line.
All right, Inez, sorry to interrupt your car fixing, but sounds like we gotta figure out a route out of here. And it's not down there, but it might be up those hills.
Is that what you're thinking, boss? We're gonna go up there?
I mean, if that looks like that's our clearest way away from a giant field of Romero's headed towards us, it's gonna have to be, unless anybody else has seen any other sign of any way out.
Well, we could continue to clear the road. We're gonna be here for another day if we want to get the ATV through. So if we go the route that we've been going using the Citadel Road, we're gonna have to spend a lot of labor trying to clear it. Now, we can go up those hills and maybe cut around, but I can tell you right now, the old Rattler is going to need to be able to take a real slow trip, because we're going to have to travel through trees and God knows what else is up there. Like, we're going to have to make it a real slow trip, and I don't know which one's going to be faster, but I'd say, I don't know, 6.5, 1 dozen. Is that how that goes?
I think slower might be better anyways, considering what I've just heard from Faith here about a large number of how many those are. Slower means quieter, it means more calculated, if we make a wrong move and we have that flood coming at us, we're not going to be able to get out of here in time. So I think going the long, slow way around might actually be a good idea.
All right, it's our funeral. Inez turns and starts to kind of attach stuff back onto the ATV. Kusanagi kind of sticks his head out. Hey, I know that we're in the middle of sort of a kind of a precarious situation here. We've all looked very clearly at the map and know that, you know, we have to make our way carefully. But I just want to put out there, before we get too hung up on the idea of slow and steady, that if what Lampwick says is true, the shepherds have this information. I mean, isn't that what was in Achira's backpack? My old tapes?
Is that what that was?
I mean, I overheard that Achira had the bag, and it was my understanding that I left those tapes inside of the safe house in the mine at Grey Ridge. Achira took it out. That was what was in the bag, wasn't it? I mean, Lampwick?
I actually didn't go through Achira's bag. I passed it off to
Well,
somebody
that was very
else.
kind of you, but I think it was a little short-sighted.
Well, when you have the eyes of the shepherds watching your every move, you might, you know, do exactly as I did and not try to do something other than what they have asked you to do. They didn't ask me to look through it. They asked me to give it straight to them.
Where's Achira at? And everybody kind of looks down the road. Achira, you're at the base of the telephone pole, and you see this body kind of jerking and swaying back and forth in the wind, and there are crows that have landed across the top of it, and they're pecking and pulling at the flesh of this Romero as it hangs up there.
She would have gone from a more of an angle to be able to see more of the body, because she's trying to find, you know, commonality between the body, so she needs to see as much of it as possible.
Are you using your recon gear?
Absolutely.
Go ahead and make a spot listen roll for me as you are trying to find the right vantage point to be able to spy on this Romero from above.
You're not going to ask to take one of my competency points?
I'm not going to, no. It doesn't seem like anyone likes it when I do that, so I'm going to punish you all and make you wait a little longer until I do that again.
Oh, it's a shame, because this was like the time I was going to give it to you.
I understand, but maybe you're going to spend 2 right here anyway. We'll see.
No, I think I'm good with what happened.
4 degrees of success is critical success. I mean, that is a phenomenal success. So here's what I'm going to do, Achira. You have, you only need 2 to be able to clearly see the body. I'm going to give you the other 2. You can use them on a spot listen check that happens within the next period of time before you rest. So if you sleep, the benefit's gonna go away, but you can add that to your next spot listen.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you move back, and you really do get a good view of this thing. Your binoculars work their way across the rotting form, and you don't recognize the rag and bone, but you know that they are in fact rag and bone. One of the numbers that you recognize from the way stations that the rag and bone use along the railroad has been pierced into the chest, and you see the number 52 on the chest of this individual, and they have a number of stitches that have closed both their eyes and their mouth.
Was that the station that we were trying to take Digger to? 52? I'm trying to remember where I heard 52 before.
You've heard many different stations. They are numbered. I'm not going to tell you whether that's the exact station, but there is station 72 that was, I believe, the station that was designated as the location that you were to take Digger to.
Okay. 52. Would Chira be able to...
I'm sorry, it was I believe it was station 73 was the
Okay.
designated station.
Would Achira be able to, perhaps using navigation or something along that ilk, plot out where 52 might be with her knowledge of just
Mhm.
Ender's Line in general?
Yeah, so your knowledge of Ender's Line and kind of recent events has helped to formulate this in your mind so it's fresh. The lower the number goes, the closer it is to the Iron City, to the pit. And so 52 is quite a ways out from the remains of the large metropolitan area and the Three Rivers district. Now, 52, however, is a station that you recall. It is close to Grey Ridge.
Well, that's not good. That says a lot, actually. Having gathered this information and knowing this possible location to that's, well, it's like, don't talk about it, don't look for it, 52. Having gathered that, Achira is going to head back over to the rest of the group.
Okay, so you start making your way back over, and everybody's watching you as you walk down the road. This shattered highway that is, I mean, when I describe these formerly more urban settings, you have to understand that nature has taken so much of it back, and the cars here are almost completely rusted away. Those that had, and this was in the 90s, so, the fiberglass was used, but not entirely. So there are parts of vehicles that are scattered everywhere here, large lumps of foliage and trees that have quickly kind of grown over this. 25 years is enough time to really produce some amazingly tall trees. And this is barely a highway anymore. And you're walking down it, and you have a little bit of leeway, some cover, as it were. But the ATV and everybody around it, all of these Citadel troops and Lampwick, are kind of standing there. And as you come through this tree line, you see them staring.
Do I have something on my face?
Do you want to handle this, Rowan? I mean, somebody's got to ask.
What'd you find out? What'd you see up there?
I found out that there are a bunch of Romeros that are strung up on telephone poles. And unfortunately, I couldn't climb a tree next one to get a closer look. I don't think that this would be a good location for us to spend any long amount of time in. And I do think that someone most definitely has it out for Ender's Line. And I wouldn't be surprised if somehow this is connected to Grey Ridge again.
More reoccurring themes. Yay. We have secured a perimeter. We're looking around. Did you, if you don't want to stay here, did you perhaps see any area that we should book it towards that looks a little non-sketch?
Can I do a roll for that?
You can make another spot listen check if you like, and you've already got 2 successes that you've banked for that roll.
Yeah, let's see if there's if hopefully with some knowledge of terrain that she's able to.
Go ahead and make the roll. While you're doing that, Kusanagi sort of like hanging out of the side of this ATV nervously busts in as Rowan's talking and says, yeah, I mean, they're all talking about traveling up the mountain, but that's fine and good. But again, my concern, rightfully so, I believe, is that if we go slow and steady, we're going to waste time. And it's my hypothesis, at least, that the shepherds have gathered together the same information that we have regarding Blockbuster's stronghold. What was in your bag that they took?
There were a number of personal things that were in there, very personal things, and some information, some tapes that you actually left behind.
See, I knew that was the problem. Do you see what I'm talking about, Rowan?
All right, so then what do you suggest, Kusanagi? You've been the one putting all this together, and this has kind of been your main mission for God only knows how long you've been talking about it, so.
Well, my strength is really here, repairing things and making things work better. But I see the strengths of everybody in this group, and I think that we would do well to travel off the road. I just don't want to see us lag behind. I think we should move with a sense of urgency. And I'm sorry, Lampwick, I think we should be careful about what we talk about openly.
I didn't say anything about any tapes.
I mean, listen, we've had a couple of good conversations, but you have to admit the shepherds are dangerous.
Yes, they are.
They
and
are
not
indeed.
to be trusted. Possibly.
I wish I could provide more clarity on that, but I can't at the moment. But you can trust me.
Do you have a radio contact for them? I could put you in touch with them if you knew the proper channels.
And of course, if you wouldn't mind speaking to them in front of us, Lampwick.
I know that specifically I wanted to do exactly that. I wanted to arrange a place where we can have an open dialogue, us with them. Their goal was to establish a kind of alliance with the Citadel, and I was to facilitate that. I know that they have something to offer. They know things, and I am just the messenger right now, but my goal is to make sure that you are all safe. But I don't control them, and I don't know everything that there is to know about them. But if they do have the information that we are trying to get from Blockbuster's stronghold, then I guess we could just go to the shepherds and see if they're willing to share that information.
And to be fair, you and I got nothing to worry about. Neither does Faith, but sure, they don't seem to really like those Enders very much, and it seems like you got the heaviest ties to them here. Does that seem like a plan to you?
I'm actually not really affiliated with anyone, but I guess everyone seems to think that I'm affiliated with Enders first.
I guess it really just matters what other people think, unfortunately, as I am on the receiving end of what other people's opinions of me seem to be, and that apparently is what's defining quite a bit. If someone thinks you're an Ender, that matters more than whether you think you are. If they have it out for you.
Clearly speaking, though, an individual traveling with a group becomes a part of that group. That is how it works, and both of you have made choices.
I suppose unless you have been forced to become a part of that group against your will.
I understand that all too well too, but we're dealing with what we're given here.
In any case, I've looked at the terrain, And I can tell you without
You
a
have-
doubt.
Yeah, you have 3
that
degrees of success. You can say clearly.
Clearly, I can tell you without a doubt that this is the way.
Interesting.
Well, look, I don't basically trust about half the people here, but I would say that if we get attacked, no one's gonna give a shit what group we're a part of. Because right now, we're all just Romero food, so we should just get going in the safest way that's possible and deal with other shit when we get there.
Yeah.
Achira guides the group into the wilderness. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.